Welcome to another, early afternoon, late morning edition of Cut the Nets. This is episode 19. I'm Jeremy, of course, here with Brian. The Heat versus Bucks. Right now, in the playoffs, the Miami Heat have the number one offense in the playoffs. Duncan Robertson is actually contributing, and Oladipo hits the injury bug hard with a torn patellar tendon. Giannis is actually back for the next game. Do you think the Bucks, who are down 2-1, do you think this is sort of a concern for them? Lakers versus Grizzlies. First of all, LeBron does not put with any trash talking, especially with a nobody in Dylan Brooks, who literally has nothing under his accolades. He has nothing. LeBron, 4-time champion, 4-time MVP, 18-time All-Star. That didn't really sit well with Game 4, as also AD's presence on the defensive end really showed in the Lakers' convincing win in Game 3. They take a 2-1 series lead. Game 4 is tonight in LA. Can the Lakers pull up an upset against the 2-seed Grizzlies? Next is Hawks versus Celtics. The Celtics handled business in Game 4. JB and JT combined for 62 points. Nothing much to say there. I think the Celtics win this handily in 5 games. The Warriors and Kings are 2-2. The Warriors won their only 2 games at home. Can they win on the road? Is it possible? The Sixers and Nets have concluded with the Sixers sweeping the Nets in a 4-game sweep. Not really much to say about that, but Embiid is still injured. Will the Sixers be able to survive against the Boston Celtics, which are potentially going to win the first round against the Hawks? It'll be a huge blow to the Sixers if Embiid stays out. Hopefully the Hawks win more games. Also, we have the Clippers and Suns. The Suns have a 3-1 lead. I mean, it's pretty easy to have a 3-1 lead if Kawhi and PG are both out. I mean, it's just Russell Westbrook out there. He's doing it by himself. So the Clippers are probably not going to win this series. They have to really take a hard look at themselves in the offseason if they lose this series, which is probably going to happen. But yeah, the Suns advance. Can their lineup stay efficient? Can their lineup stay healthy? With KD and Booker having the most minutes out of everybody on the court, 40-plus minutes against possibly the Denver Nuggets. And last, we'll be talking about the Knicks versus Cavs. The Knicks won both of their games at home at the MSG convincingly. They take a 3-1 series lead heading back to Cleveland. Brian, do you think the Knicks win this game in 5? Or do they win, or do they go back home and win Game 6?
I think Cleveland's gonna take Game 5. I mean,
wait! You're saying too much. We gotta talk about it in the show. This is the intro. Come on, man. What are we doing here? What are we doing?
My bad.
I
got excited.
But yeah, RJ Barrett also finally coming alive after 3 years of absence of being so mid. Now he may not be mid. Will Brian finally call him RJ Barrett? Find out on episode 19 of Cut the Nets.
Morant. A jawbreaker! Goes by drops the sledgehammer! Good bucket. Kobe Bryant on a rack attack! A piece of it. Going right. Giannis Antetokounmpo over Chris Middleton. It's a physical game. Vicious slam in the face of Kawhi Leonard. Explosion, the finish. Down to 3, down to 2, it's a 3. Good! He got it! James Harden, a flamethrower! This guy's unbelievable. He is so fun to watch.
All right, we have Matthew Valento. Lakers. Oh, I love that Lakers background, man. Look at that. That looks amazing. Matthew Valento is back on the Cut the Nets podcast. I know you want to talk about the Lakers, Matt, of course, and we're going to get to the Knicks and Cavs, but the Heat versus Bucks. This is interesting because now the Bucks have a 2-1 series lead. It was mainly due to Giannis, his injury, but he is back for the next game. But in Game 3, the Miami Heat just completely toyed with the Bucks. I mean, after the first half, the Miami Heat just kept shooting threes over and over and over. Like, they were hitting threes. So if you want to go on their field goal percentage, The Miami Heat were shooting 53.6 from the field and nearly 50% from three. That pretty much led to their offensive onslaught. Brian or Matthew, just kind of whoever wants to talk about this. Are the Bucks in a situation where they might have to panic or be concerned going into Game 4?
I mean, I think there's a little bit of panic. It's kind of a culture shock, the 1 versus 8 matchup that they're down 2-1, especially with the injuries Miami's dealt with. Tyler Herro's done for the series. Now it looks like Victor Oladipo's, actually he's definitely out for the series in the season, maybe even his career. But no, I mean, they get Giannis back tonight. Game 4. So Giannis is back tonight in Miami. I think with Giannis, this team looks a lot better because Giannis is one of the best players in the league, and he does both on the sides of the court at an elite level. I'd say there's slight concern for Milwaukee, but I think the series is still theirs.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a Bucks fan, I think you kind of look at it from a perspective where the Heat aren't a great offensive team, and they've beaten you 2 games to kind of like, if you want to call it Mickey Mouse shooting. I mean,
wait, Mickey Mouse shooting? Are you coming from a Lakers fan? Why are you saying that?
No, Laker fans, our ring is legit. Don't let anybody take that away from you. But regardless, do you expect the Miami Heat to make 16 threes again? Not really. I mean, Jimmy Butler, a guy who never really shoots threes, made 4 of them. You have Duncan Robinson, who hasn't seen a basketball court in months, coming in and making 5 threes. So I think if you're a Bucks fan, I think they were just trying to buy Giannis a little bit of time, and now they're in a 2-1 deficit. So you kind of have to be able to just fight this off. I think obviously getting Giannis back is going to be a huge help for him, and I think once you get Giannis back, it'll just open up the offense a lot more because you're kind of looking at Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton as like the guys who have to create everything. So I think Giannis getting back will definitely help the Bucks kind of take control of this series.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you guys. I don't really find any sort of concern if I were a Bucks fan down 2-1. Jimmy Butler is not known for threes. He was kind of having, like you said, a Mickey Mouse game with this 3-point barrage because Jimmy Butler was fantastic in the bubble back in 2020. He's still great. I'm not saying he's just a one and done player, but he's still got it. He's playoff Butler. Like he shines in the bright lights, but he's more, of course, a mid-range shooter, and he has a defensive contribution. So with his 3-point making, it's not very often he shoots 4 threes in a game. However, Duncan Robinson really surprised me. They used him exactly the way that he should have, and that's how he got a plus 24. I mean, 5 for 6 from deep. If they utilize Duncan Robinson like this, they might have sort of a puncher's chance to beat the Bucks, to upset them. If Giannis does not perform like Giannis does, the Bucks might be. They should have some sort of concern if they do go down 3-1 after losing in Game 4, coming into Game 4 in Miami on the road. Then they should be concerned. They need to tie this game to put the series back on their court and convincingly win in 6 games. I don't really if Miami takes this to 7 games, this might make Milwaukee a little bit more concerned. Take this up 3-1 is even more of a concern. But right now, they need to win this game. The Bucks need to win Game 4.
I mean, I think the plus 31 from Caleb Martin is really good, also being a double-digit scorer. And then a little blast from the past, Kyle Lowry, plus 27, also shooting 50% from the field. Pretty nice. Great,
actually,
all-around scorer.
let me point the fact that they decided to start Gabe Vincent as a point guard. And put Cavalier on the bench and give him 28 minutes. I think that's also a decent coaching move by Spoelstra. And because that'll create a lot more size. Because Kyle Lowry, he's sort of a defensive liability. I mean, they can just tackle him on the other. The Bucks can just sort of just utilize him as their target to attack him on a switch or a mismatch. And having Lowry come off the bench like that is a different game plan. I think I do want to shout that out as well. For Victor Oladipo, it's just another one of those. It's just sad, man. It really is.
Yeah.
His first 2 years on the Pacers, he was looking like a superstar, and then that quadriceps tendon that he tore pretty much changed his overall athleticism. He tried to make a comeback, came to Houston, I believe, and then wasn't really the same since his quadriceps tendon. And this torn patellar tendon that he suffered in the last game really kind of just cements the fact that he may not be the same player that he ever has been. Or he might not get, as Brian mentioned, another chance on the NBA court. So there is optimism, though. I think I read like a news report that the Heat front office do have optimism that he might come back in 6 months. So we'll see.
I think if you're the Bucks, I'm interested to see what kind of Heat team you get moving forward with Giannis, if they're able to keep this shooting up. Because if you're the Bucks, I think you just kind of have a little room for error now. Also putting Giannis back into, I guess, into the fire, if you want to call it that. If you're the Bucks, you just kind of hope you find your stride right away, because with this Heat team, they've given you trouble before. So interested to see what kind of Heat team we get moving forward, and if the Bucks are just able to get Giannis back and he's able just to be himself in Game 4.
Let's move quickly to the 76ers and Nets series that ended in a 4-game sweep. So I want to talk about this mainly because of Joel Embiid's injury. So it's time and time again. This is the second consecutive year where Joel Embiid comes down with an injury in the first round. This was against the Raptors when they nearly lost the series but won in 6 games. They were up 3-0 last year against the Raptors. They should have won Game 4. But again, like they swept the Nets convincingly this time around, but Embiid's injured. I'm sure that they are definitely Hawks fans, and they do want the Hawks to win a little bit more games to extend the healing time for Embiid for the next round. But, I mean, without Embiid, the Nets don't really have, besides like Nick Claxton, they don't really have much of a size there. They pretty much went to the mid-range. I mean, you had Tobias Harris really just nailing mid-range shot after shot, fadeaways. It looked pure, looked like he was really comfortable on the court. James Harden, although he didn't have a good shooting night, had a plus 11 with those assist numbers and that double-double. You also had Tyrese Maxey, who didn't really have a good shooting night, but nailed his free throws, was a plus 9. I mean, the Sixers, if they don't have Embiid, they create more spacing. That's what they do. They work well against the Nets because the Nets don't really have size much anymore either. So I think it wasn't really much of an issue when it came to Embiid being down this series, but for the next series, I fear that this might be a huge loss if Embiid doesn't come back. What are your thoughts, guys?
Yeah, and I think another reason is the Nets were only held to 88. They didn't shoot the ball well at all. They shot 24.3% from 3, 9 for 37 from the 3-point line. They even shot 68.4% the free throw line. So if you make those 6 free throws, it was only a 2-point game. Who knows? Or if they just shot the ball a little better from 3. But another thing too is like you mentioned earlier on about the Hawks the 76ers kind of being Hawks fans, allowing Embiid to rest up. I kind of have an issue with the playoff schedule a little bit because this series ended Saturday between the Sixers and the Nets. So the Sixers have already got today's Monday, 2 days of rest, and the 76ers played and finished their series before the Heat even played their Game 3. So I kind of think the NBA playoff schedule is a little weird and questionable. It allows some teams to get significant more rest than others. Kind of see in the later rounds how that really plays. It could be the script could be fixed.
Are they trying to make Philadelphia go to the finals? Are they trying to rig that?
Yeah, you know what they want it to be, the all sports Philadelphia, where they just go to the championship and then lose.
I mean, that's what I said earlier
Yeah,
podcast episodes.
you've said
the,
it
the
on a few episodes.
trifecta effect. The trifecta effect, man. Like that's just kind of how I want it to be. Also, I had a fling with somebody from Philadelphia, and I really want her to be upset about that too. So.
Damn. Yeah, but I guess this is the trust the process Embiid's been saying all along. After choking and choking in the playoffs, they get to choke in the big one. That's the script.
Yeah. I mean, I never really knew how to gauge the Sixers team. Obviously, they're kind of viewed as one of the 3 teams to make it out this year, but I think I wasn't really expecting the Nets to make this competitive at all. The Sixers handled their business, even though they had a couple close calls. The Nets just showed that they didn't want to win those games, so the Sixers came out with it. Obviously, Embiid getting injured is a red flag, but I think heading into next series, which you're probably going to play Boston, I'm concerned about James Harden. If he, as we see here, he's shot 4 for 18 in the closeout game. In game 1, he shot well from 3, but from 2-point land, he was awful. And I think if you're not able to pop off against the Brooklyn Nets, that's a little concerning. You're heading into a Boston series where they're a really great defensive team, and obviously you're going to need him to chip in, not just from three-point land. You're going to need him to drive and be able to hit those little floaters and driving layups, and he hasn't been able to do that. Don't know if he's going to be able to flip a switch, but it's a little concerning for me personally. And obviously, if Joel's going to be able to play game 1, seems like Doc Rivers is a little unsure about that. So I think if you're Philly, you're really going to need everybody to chip in heading into this Boston series, especially with James Harden. I think he's really going to need to step up, even though he hasn't been a great playoff player. I think he does need to really step up in the second round series.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the fact that you need James Harden to step up as well, along with Joel Embiid whenever he comes back. But there was a video I watched. I think it's this guy. I want to shout out this guy. Dylan watches, or Dylan loves basketball. It's such just one long like YouTube name. He does probably one of the best, if not the most underrated and best basketball analysis of like timeline stories. He talked about how the Brooklyn Nets completely faltered after gaining Kyrie, Kevin, and James Harden. And he was a whole 40-minute segment. I just want to put a little bit of it and talk about how James Harden lost his step in terms of athleticism and driving the basket. Because in 2020, before he lost to the Lakers in the second round, he was still athletic. He was a 3-time scoring champion along with an MVP added to that. But when he got traded to the Nets, there was this sort of conspiracy because of like the fact that he looked out of shape when he was on the Rockets before he got traded. That's not true. That was sort of a conspiracy theory. I think he was trying to make it look like he was out of shape so the Rockets could trade him because they didn't want to be there. But when he got to the Nets, if you guys recall, he was James Harden. Like, he was Houston Rockets James Harden on the Nets. He was, of course, he was more of a facilitator, but he could still shoot the 3 from deep consistently, could drive to the basket consistently. Like, he was the beard. Now, when he went down with that hamstring issue in, I think it was game 1 of the second round against the Milwaukee Bucks, that was a serious hamstring issue. But the Nets front office said it was hamstring tightness. It actually was a grade 2 hamstring that needs about 4 to 8 weeks to recover. But they decided to play James Harden in those games that he shouldn't have played because of the fact that they wanted him to be there, and he wanted to be there as well. This is not cap, Zach. This is not cap at all. No, seriously. James Harden was really good on the Nets before he went down with a hamstring issue. Before he went down. And then during the offseason, he was pretty much out of shape because he was recovering from that grade 2 hamstring. And then when he came to the Nets, I think it was the second season. This was when pretty much he was now a facilitator. He couldn't drive to the basket. His legs were pretty much done after that grade 2 hamstring because he didn't really work out. He was out of shape. So that's kind of what led to his downfall and his loss of athleticism. And now it sort of transpired to the 76ers. And I don't really think he'll ever have that flip the switch moment where he just turns into Houston James Harden. He's 33 now. You know, father time pretty much caught up to him pretty early because of those issues. But I mean, I'm just being called out by Zach here. I mean, what do y'all think? Y'all think this is capping what I'm saying?
I mean, I think that weight gain led to his hamstring injuries and missing out on the time. Because obviously, like you said, he loses that athleticism and also father time. I mean, I still think Harden was a good player, but he was a great player. But I think he kind of lost that elite title due to all the injuries and just not looking the same like athletically. Because like in his Houston days, especially when him and Chris Paul led the league in like 3-pointers taken, Harden's the type of guy that he'll either breeze right by you or he'll do some step backs and these crazy threes. When he doesn't have that speed and athleticism, he's kind of like a different player, and that's kind of why he's being more of a facilitator, because he doesn't have that speed and athleticism to be able to create like space, separate space for him to get those 30, 35 point games.
Yeah, I would agree with what Jeremy's saying. And also Brian mentioning, that weight gain, those entertaining days on Twitter, seeing all that stuff. But yeah, he just hasn't been the same. I think that hamstring really sent him back. I mean, him as a facilitator honestly isn't bad, but I feel like whenever I watch Sixers games and he just like attempts to drive to the basket, I feel like now more than ever he's just searching for contact in every which way. Even though I know in the Rockets days we feel like he was always getting to the foul line, but I think now he's just looking more for contact than actually making a shot, personally from a spectator view. So I think overall him as a facilitator is fine at this stage in his career, but to be able to shoot better than 4 for 18 would be good. So I think he just has to shoot respectable in the next series. That's all.
I just think he needs to shoot threes. I don't really.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the drive anymore to the basket, that athleticism, that quickness. Also, do y'all remember that basketball rule change that the NBA made?
Oh, was it the foul baiting stuff?
Foul baiting. Yeah, he was a huge culprit of the foul baiting. Huge
Oh,
culprit.
like that Trae Young stuff too, like the back bump.
Yeah.
Oh,
foul
yeah,
baiting.
yeah.
So that's pretty much also was a huge factor as to why James Harden was close to like top 3 of leading the league in free throw shots and free throw attempts taken as well. So he was able to use that as foul baiting, and that also hindered his ability to shoot from the line consistently when he was fouled, while he drove to the basket. But the athleticism and of course foul baiting rule changes kind of altered that. So I really think he should just resort to shooting threes and facilitating. Lakers and Grizzlies, Matt.
My
Your Lakers
favorite
won.
series. Yes,
2-1. I wouldn't put the LeBron AD championship Mickey Mouse bubble in the background just yet. This is round 1, and they are up 2-1. However, this round does count. I feel like it does count. But this game was really good for the Lakers. They won very convincingly. And it really started with defense. I mean, they held the Grizzlies to 9 points in the first quarter. And that's just spectacular. You had pretty much Anthony Davis being the anchor there, which he should be on a daily basis, even though he's glass. But sorry, look, look. If the Lakers win a championship, I'm happy. Sure, congratulations. I mean, it's great. It proves to the NBA fans and media that they didn't just win in the bubble. But this is a really well convincing win for the Lakers as they take a 2-1 series lead in Game 3. let's get to Dylan Brooks.
Oh yeah,
Dylan Brooks. So, of course, I'm sure you guys saw the pregame jitter where it was recorded that LeBron and Dylan Brooks were talking, kind of jawing at each other. It kind of seemed that LeBron really just wasn't really having much of his stuff. Like, I don't really care about your trash talking. I mean, let's just see how you do in the court. And Brooks was just trying to be like this big guy, like this trash talking big guy. And I mean, yeah, I love trash talking as much as I'm sure the rest of you guys do, but you got to back it up. You got to back it up with veteran leadership, with history, with, if you're a trash talker, I mean, you got to back it up with accolades. I feel like you have to, or all-star nods, or all defensive nods. Those kind of accolades back it up. It is nice to get like a block and a steal or a force a turnover. Dylan Brooks did not back it up. He really did not. He just was kind of just talking the talk. Didn't really walk the walk in this game. The only player that pretty much just trying to like get this team at least close to the Lakers in this game was John Morant. I mean, that's a world-class game, 45 points, 13 for 26, 6 from 10 from 3. Like, he was lights out, 13 assists as well. The only player besides Luke Kennard with a positive plus-minus. With this game, do you see the Lakers upsetting the Grizzlies? Do you think the Grizzlies should be concerned with this 2-1 series deficit?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'll let Matt get into it more as the Laker fan, but I think the series is definitely over. I think
definitely over. What?
I wouldn't agree with that.
I don't know about that. I don't think the Grizzlies series is definitely over.
I don't know. I think the main reason why the Lakers are having the run they're having is because the fact that they're without Steven Adams and Brandon Clark. Like, the Lakers are kind of just taking advantage of the Grizzlies' loss of big men. And obviously the Lakers are playing on all cylinders right now, looking good. I mean, a healthy Anthony Davis is scary. He's honestly been, so far, the MVP of the series so far. It's never a good thing to see Xavier Tillman in the starting lineup in a playoff team. So yeah, I mean, I think the Lakers are going to win the series. I think it's going to be a 2-7 upset.
Yeah, for this series, I think Game 4 today, at the time of this recording, I think this is going to be the series right here. You're probably going to see a really aggressive Grizzlies team. They're going to give you all that they have in this series, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Lakers respond. But in terms of this game, I really liked what I saw from AD. Obviously, Game 2, he was just not there at all. Arguably one of his worst games as a Laker, if not the worst, just due to playoff standards. But LeBron, he came out aggressive early, which I liked. D'Angelo Russell, he's on fraud watch right now. He has not played great this whole series, and he is a guy that's wanting to get paid $30 million this year. I'm hesitant even giving him 20 at this point in time. So he's really going to have to show me something if he really wants that big contract as our starting point guard. Austin Reeves, he was solid. Rui Hachimura, again, proving me wrong. He's just been so efficient scoring-wise through this whole series. Game 1, obviously, going off for 29, and he's just been able to maintain it. I mean, 22 minutes, putting up 16 points off the bench. Would like to see him get a little more run, but overall, can't complain about what he provided. And for Malik Beasley, I think his time is up. I don't see him getting 13 minutes is a little much for me. I think if you're Darvin Ham, you kind of look to another guy, and that other guy being Lonnie Walker. I know other fans are kind of calling for his name, and I think it wouldn't hurt to just throw him out there for like 5-10 minute stints, see what you have. Same with Troy Brown. He hasn't been great for a while now, so I think you just take one of those guys' minutes and replace it with Lonnie. Going up 35-9 in the first, it's all about maintaining it. And obviously you had Ja go off for 45 and making 6 threes, even though he's not the greatest 3-point shooter. So I think if you're the Lakers, you kind of look at it as you came out aggressive early and you're able to withstand a job masterclass in a way of him just scoring 22 straight in the fourth quarter. So I think that's another positive. You're able to withstand Ja just absolutely backpacking the Grizzlies. But I think game 4, you're going to really have to deal with a lot. I think the Grizzlies are really going to leave it all out there. And I think the Lakers are definitely going to have to come out ready and prepared for game 4. I think if the Lakers are able to come out with game 4, if I were to make a prediction, I think they lose back in Memphis and wrap it back up at home.
I think the Grizzlies are going to tie the series.
Okay.
I don't see this as a lost series for the Grizzlies. I think if Dylan Brooks can shut the fuck up,
I didn't
his game, then they have a chance at winning. Okay. Every sport, no matter how talented you are, has to do with your mind. Okay, and the Grizzlies need to have a different mindset. They need to be able to know that they can win. They need to be confident. They can't be cocky, but confident. There's a nice little happy medium there. You know, they're my favorites. Okay, all right. I want them to win. I want them to win. All right, and I know that they can. They've proved it. It's possible. They are my finals pick, but I can't just change my finals pick unless something drastic happens. Okay, I can't. All right, yeah, Steven Adams being out for the season hurts the team, but I think they can still muscle it. Okay, Jaren Jackson Jr. is the defensive player of the year this season. All right, he needs to step up along with Dylan Brooks. If Dylan Brooks can shut the fuck up and play his game, I think they'll win the game 4.
Dylan Brooks. Man, oh man, is he awful at the game of basketball. Just as you mentioned, Jeremy, that you have to be able to back up your trash talk. I mean, yeah, that's just kind of his role. Obviously, they won game 2, so he has the room to talk. But, I mean, 13 shots in 19 minutes before he got ejected. I'm thinking to myself, how many shots was he going to take if he stayed in the game?
Let me also bring this up, though. This playoff series, this entire playoffs has been like the punch to the groin or a punch to a lower body part, all right? You had Joel Embiid, trying to like do the kick on I believe it was Nick Claxton?
Yeah.
Yeah, Nick Claxton. You had Draymond Green stepping on Sabonis's sternum, and then you got Dylan Brooks taking a shot at LeBron's groin. All right. All right. So say what you want about the refs. I think the refs really need to figure out what they're doing when it comes to ejecting players, okay? If you're going to eject Draymond Green and Dylan Brooks, you got to eject Embiid. All those attacks, whether it was a dirty play or not, they were in sensitive areas, okay? And sensitive areas need to be protected. That's my spiel. All right, let's move on.
Matt, I got the perfect response to you about how many shots Dylan Brooks would have taken. He would have taken a lot more. Shout out my man, Deion Waiters. I'd rather go 0 for 30 than 0 for 9. Because you go 0 for 9, that means you stop shooting. That means you lost confidence.
Yo,
Dylan
shout
Brooks,
out to...
he knows he's confident in himself. So
shout out to Andy.
Probably taken like 30.
Shout out to Andy for that draft pick. Deion Waiters to the Cavaliers. That duo of Kyrie Irving and Deion Waiters never worked out, Andy. I'm sorry.
Oh, that was all right. Sorry, I just got reminded of a Deion Waiters. I was talking about my friend about the Rising Stars game, about who Tim Hardaway Jr. went shot for shot with, and like that exciting game. It was Deion Waiters. So thank you for the reminder.
Yeah. Also, before we move on, LeBron's reverse windmill dunk.
Gross.
How was that? That was awesome. At 38 years old, he's got to have steroids or something in his body. He's got to have something in there. All right, that the NBA is not telling us. He has to. There's no way spend $1 million on his body. My ass. Probably spends more. All right. So, anything else before we move on?
One last thing for Dylan.
Sure. Let's go.
talked a lot in game 2. You said I poked bears. Granted, sure, you won game 2. Series flips. Absolutely amazing atmosphere in the crypto. Um, Dylan Brooks was warming up. Fans were cheering every time he missed. Transferred to in-game. Bro was just chucking up there. Hey, it helps us. Obviously, he was 3 for 13. He was awful from 3. And then gets ejected. And then after the game, he has the nerve to not talk to media. He says, I ain't talking. And then he says during practice, the media is painting me out to be the villain. Bro, you're the one talking, and then you're portraying yourself as a villain, and then you get smoked. You play awful, and then you're saying that we're portraying you as the villain. It's kind of crazy, but hey, man, would have loved to see you put up more shots. You were 3 for 13. You were helping us out a lot. So I think heading into this next game, keep shooting. It'll help us out a lot. So, yeah, but Dylan Brooks is just a weirdo.
Hey, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
So. Hey, he can take them all.
LeBron's on steroids. Warriors and Kings are tied 2-2 in this series. And with that, let's bring our producer, Zach Morgan.
Hello.
What is going on, Zach?
Not too much. It was an exciting day yesterday. I've got these stats ready right over here.
Okay.
So we'll start with the Kings, I think. We've been doing a routine first, so lead away.
Yeah. So, the Sacramento Kings and Warriors, this has probably been the best watched series out of all the first rounds. Sorry, Brian. The Knicks and Cavs are the second best, in my opinion. This like, not being a fan of either team, this is just great basketball to watch. I mean, 2 games have been neck and neck. Two of these games could have been decided by 1 possession. And, I mean, I got nothing much to say about what the Sacramento Kings didn't do. The Warriors almost lost this game. I mean, I feel like with Steph Curry, he called a timeout when they had no timeouts because of a prior challenge that they lost. And
that's just a mistake you can't make in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
For Steph being 35 years old, a seasoned veteran, two-time MVP. Yeah, for him to do that, I don't know. Maybe Father Time's hitting him too, on the mental side.
Well, I'm going to argue probably not.
Yeah,
but
no.
Everyone, that was a really bad slip up, and quite frankly, the Warriors were lucky to survive. And it wasn't just that, because they were in possession to get around that without an issue. But then they squandered their next possession and gave the Kings 10 seconds to try and do something. Like, those are things that a veteran team cannot do in the playoffs.
Especially when they're like the number 1 offense in the league too.
When you're the number 1 offense in the league, when you're the defending champs, when you've won 4 of 8 championships in the last 8 championships, excuse me. Yeah, no, that's not a mistake you can make. But escape with the win. Ultimately, they did what they needed to do. Now it's a 3-game series. It's right back to game 1.
Yeah.
But,
can the Warriors win on the road?
I don't see why not. This is a team that kind of earned some of their stripes in that first championship as, road warriors, so to speak. They can win on the road, and they can do it again. I don't know what it was coming into game 1. I think maybe Wiggins just wasn't ready to really go. The conditioning wasn't quite there. But the Warriors, since game 1, in games 3 and 4, granted they're at home, there's obviously going to be an advantage there. But they're a team that can really, really go on a run. They're still the Golden State Warriors. At their core, they're still just as dangerous as they were last year. Obviously, they miss Otto Porter, but what can you really do? I mean, it's a great series. It's great basketball, and I cannot wait for Game 5. While I was watching this game, though, for the Kings, what stood out to me, that trade at the deadline last year, where they sent Tyrese Halliburton for Domantas Sabonis.
Yeah,
that really worked out for both places. I mean, Domantas Sabonis just fits so well right next to De'Aaron Fox, and to be able to draft Keegan Murray, who also slotted in, the Kings are going to be a dangerous team for a long time to come. a long time. And if with Harris and Barnes as our veteran, the sky's the limit for them.
I agree with that. I do. There was a post game conference or post game interview with not Steph. Jesus, I'm having a stroke here. There was a post game interview with Steve Kerr and the media, and they asked why they put Draymond on the bench compared to in the starting lineup. And what Steve Kerr did was actually a pretty good decision. If you all watched it, he decided to put Draymond because of the fact that they had their spacing issues with Green as a starting power forward. With Poole, instead of Draymond having more of a small lineup with regards to Kevon Looney, they were able to create more spacing, and it worked. I mean, Poole scored over 20 points this game, which is, I mean, pretty freaking good. If you have Jordan Poole scoring more than 20 points, you can call it the Poole party or whatever. I think it's a little overrated. You have a pretty decent, convincing win, I would say. You got Thompson, of course, playing actually really well this game, plus 22. You know he's going to shoot the ball really well, but his defense was actually not terrible compared to previous games and since his injuries history started. Steph Curry, of course. I mean, what can you say with him? Even though he's kind of slipped up at the end, 32 points, great from three, good from field goal range. 5 for 11. I mean, that's Steph Curry numbers right there for you.
It's video. He's a video game. Even at 35, he's still a video game.
As Ernie Johnson and Charles Barkley, Shaq and Kenny say, he makes it
Stefferless.
Oh, Stefferless. I'm sorry.
Jesus. that was butchered. All right.
Yeah, no, I thought you were finishing that, but yes, no, he does make it Stefferless. He's fantastic. And you look at the starting four here; they're averaging above 20 between the four of them for this game. It's everyone who needed to step up did. Having Draymond on the bench, it's huge because it gives you more of a leader on the defensive side for the second unit, one. And two, the Warriors played so well in game 3. It was hard to ignore. And
they saw that loophole that they were able to play well without Draymond because of his suspension. And then they brought him back as a different weapon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the whole key, we saw it a little bit last year, the evolution of what Kevon Looney is doing for the Golden State Warriors. He is enabling this dynasty to keep going. He's been so good, and quite frankly, having him in that power forward center type role, it's perfect because he does what Draymond was doing for the first few championships now, except obviously to a lesser extent, but he covers his bases. He rebounds well. He's great in the defensive zone. I mean, what more can you really ask for from the fifth guy in the lineup from the fifth guy in the lineup? Excuse me.
I think you can actually take that into consideration that maybe they might in the future try to get Loon to be more of a facilitator. You know, he had 8 assists or 6 assists. Sorry, can't read. He had 6 assists, and that's pretty good for a power forward / center.
8, 14, and 6 is a great line.
Yeah. Brian, Matt, sorry to have you guys on the sideline there, but what do you got to say about this game?
I think it was a great game. On the Kings side, I think Keegan Murray had a great game. He looks like a bright future star out of Iowa, I believe. Also got to see a De'Aaron Fox masterclass with 38 points. Pretty much going toe for toe with Curry. Shooting almost 50% from the field, 4 for 11 from 3. So the Kings look pretty good. Sabonis, obviously, like Zach mentioned, perfect complement to De'Aaron Fox. But on the Warriors side, I think they, with the exception of that slip up in the fourth quarter where they with the Curry technical foul. I was watching the end of the game when I was on the train ride back from Game 4 for the Knicks game. The Warriors were on like a 12-0 run or something in the last 5 minutes, I believe. That's actually definitely gave them the win there. But also just like taking a look at the stats, I think Draymond coming off the bench was key. It definitely probably took the Kings like out of a loop. Didn't really know because obviously Draymond's been a part of that core 4 Big 3 dynasty for a while. So it was definitely an interesting look to see what the Warriors would look like without Draymond in the starting lineup. And yeah, so that's pretty much all I got to say.
I think from the Kings' perspective, I think you definitely blew your chance at winning this game. The fourth quarter execution just was not there. I mean, with like 30 seconds left, they were like rushing to take shots. Um, there was like some sequences where Sabonis, I think it was like a 2-on-1, and he turned it over. And then again, Sabonis had a layup opportunity against Draymond, smoked it. De'Aaron made a cross-court pass to nobody out of bounds. I think Malik Monk even had a turnover down the stretch as well. So I think the Kings, despite all the poor late-game execution, gave themselves a chance to win this game. Unfortunately, it was Harrison Barnes who has not shot great this series. So, but De'Aaron Fox made the right play. It was the right shot. Granted, if Harrison Barnes made it, we're probably not saying how awful he shot, but
Yeah.
I think for the Kings, you just need something from Harrison. Keegan Murray, I was wondering where he went. This was a great game from him. He looked great out there. Herter hasn't really shot great either. So, I mean, despite all that, the Kings gave him
much.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
He hasn't.
It was a plus 14, but I mean the points didn't really show up there. He didn't really shoot his shots well. Just only had 4 chances to shoot the basketball.
He shot 1 3.
Yeah, and that's not acceptable. Kevin Herter's a 3-point specialist,
But a 40% 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
So there's obviously some utilization in the lineup here. You want to see more efficiency out of Harrison Barnes. I couldn't agree more. I'm sorry to interrupt, Matt.
No, you're good.
Maybe they gave De'Aaron Fox too many shots. I mean, I know that he's the star of the team, and he should take the most amount of shots compared to the rest of the starting lineup. But, I mean, you got to give Kevin Herter more minutes.
They ride or die with De'Aaron Fox, thougs I'm not sure they're in position to win the game if De'Aaron Fox doesn't go off the way he did in the fourth quarter. He's the NBA clutch player of the year for the first time for a reason.
Yeah,
and he absolutely showed up.
I understand it's the first quarter. I'm not saying he didn't show up. He showed up. I'm just saying for the first 3 quarters, I mean, have Herter get involved. I mean, 21 minutes. They didn't put him much in the fourth quarter because he had 21 minutes. So, yeah, the NBA's new award, Clutch Player of the Year, goes to De'Aaron Fox for a reason. I understand that. But, you know, it's in the early going, you got to have that decent size lead. You got to be able to create space on the floor, and Kevin Herter can do that. Not really sure how they didn't utilize him to that spectacle, but you know, the series is tied 2-2. We're just wondering if the Warriors can win on the road. And they have a 27 consecutive road playoff series and counting. I mean, it's an NBA record for the Warriors. I mean, that's the highest in NBA history.
I have to give them the edge. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased here, but in this case, it's just you got to give the edge to the veteran. I don't know. They've been here before. Now it's a best of 3 series. The Kings have to be shocked a little bit by the fact they were seemingly in control with a 2-0 lead going to San Francisco. Now they're heading back to Sacramento for Game 5. It's anyone's game.
Yeah, you gotta be careful with those California cities. You got San Francisco, Sacramento, San Diego, San Jose. So
yeah,
you almost butchered there.
I saved myself a little bit. I saved myself quickly.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. If the Kings don't win at the Chase Center, but they win all their 4 games at home, I mean that's still convincing. It's just the Warriors. The thing is, if the NBA media, like the mainstream NBA media, will say if the Warriors fell down in 7 games and couldn't win on the road, that's the main headline. Mm-hmm. It won't be about the Kings.
100%.
It will not be about the Kings' success over the defending champs. It'll be about the Warriors failing to win on the road, and they're going to blame it on Steph or Clay or whatever, and they're going to say Draymond needs to go or whatever, and they're not going to talk about how the Kings advanced to the second round for the first time since the early 2000s. So,
you're right. It's somehow the Kings advancing for the first time in 20 years will not be the biggest story if they're the team that can come out of the series on top. It'll be the Warriors faltering, and that's even with the Warriors as a 6 seed and the Kings a 3 seed.
Yeah, no, I mean it's even if the seedings are vastly like separated by record. I I mean, the Warriors going 44-38, and the Kings going, convincingly 48-34. It's still going to have that headline. I mean, the Warriors were 11-30 on the road the regular season, I believe.
Yes.
11-30. So that still has a huge, eyebrow raise to the NBA media. But yeah, with that being said, speaking of second rounds, can the Knicks move on to the second round against the Cavs after winning 2 games at MSG on their home court against the Cavs? They take a 3-1 series lead. In Game 3, they held the Cavs to 79 points, the first time the Cavs have ever been lost by 20 points in a game this season. And, of course, in Game 4, they won convincingly 102-93, taking a 3-1 series lead. Let's start with Brian, who attended Game 4, was at the MSG, at the Garden. What were your thoughts of the overall performance, the experience? Tell us all about it, man.
All right, so for Game 4, so I've been to a Knicks game before. It was my first ever playoff game.
That's the difference, man.
Yeah, coming into that game, I was 1-2 at the Garden, so I'm glad to even it out there. But the atmosphere was crazy. I was all the way up in the nosebleeds. Literally the first half, where because we split it with my friends of 2 groups of 4. The first half, there was because of the Chase Bridge bar, I couldn't even see the scoreboard without squatting. But the atmosphere was still crazy. I luckily got the lucky end of the draw. I got the second half, so I got to see the third and fourth quarter with the scoreboard without having to break my back. But it was a beautiful game. One thing I will start off with is Scott Foster needs to go to Cancun. He needs to stop reffing games. I think he has a hatred, by the way, with the number 3. Obviously, we know his record with Chris Paul. He was not giving any calls to Josh Hart either.
JH3, okay.
But, JH3. But starting off with the Cavs, I mean, they couldn't handle the Garden. They were even worse in Game 3 at the Garden when they scored 79 points. First time in the regular season or playoffs, the team was held to under 80. But Donovan Mitchell looked sloppy in Game 4. He only had 11 points, only 2 points in the second half. I mean, that's especially on a Cavs team that lives and dies by their starting lineup. I mean, you see it right there. Mobley, 35 minutes. Jared Allen, 40. Garland, 36. LeVert, 39. Donovan Mitchell with 42. Even when Mobley fouled out, but pretty much had 4 or 5 the whole game. Garland with 4. Mitchell with 4. The only people that really went to their bench was Chetty Osman and Isaac Okoro. The Knicks, on the other hand, when they have a more balanced lineup, I'd say the Knicks definitely have the advantage there. I mean, Julius Randle sat out the whole fourth quarter. Whether I think it was definitely because his ankle or leg was bothering him again, because I did see him stretching it out on the sideline, but on the bench. But I'm not the biggest Obi Toppin fan in the world, but he played good. Very efficient game, 5 points. He even stepped up on the defensive end. But I think collectively as a unit, the Knicks looked really good. I mean, Mitchell Robinson had 2 blocks. One of them was a nice block on a Donovan Mitchell attempted poster. Even Isaiah Hartenstein had 2 blocks and 2 steals. Josh Hart had his New York Knicks moment, his Mecca moment. 19 points, 2 steals, 2 assists, 7 rebounds. 4 or 5 from the free throw line. He pretty much did it all. RJ Barrett, yes, I am now calling him RJ Barrett. He deserved it. Ooh. Great performances in games 3 and 4. Even better in game 4. 26 points. 9 for 18 from the field. That's 50%. 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block. I know, he went 0 for 6 from 3.
At 0 for, I was like, where's that at?
It's brutal. But we're not going to move on. We're not going to talk about it. The next one, RJ Barrett looked good. He has a Nick moment. People asked him before game 3, he was like, or after game 3, he was like, when did you know how to shoot? And he's like, what's today, Friday? When? And they're like, yeah, Friday. He said Wednesday. So obviously it took coming home to the Garden for him to shoot better. Although the one, I guess, negative critique was that third quarter for the Knicks. With how much energy they came out in the first quarter, I was pretty confident the Knicks were going to win. win the game. But that third quarter, I'm not gonna lie, did scare me. Cavs outscored them 26-19. The problem with the Knicks was, from a defensive standpoint, was they couldn't really handle the pick and roll with rotating off of it, especially with Darius Garland and his step backs. He kind of stepped up for Mitchell's off game. Garland had 23 points, 10 assists, so a nice little double-double. But coming into the series, everyone was talking about the Cavaliers, Twin Towers, and Mobley and Jared Allen, and how much of a great young duo they are. But I think the even more important dynamic duo for the big man wasn't getting talked about enough, and Hartenstein and Robinson. I mean, it was, Jeremy, a couple weeks ago, I wrote an article and we talked about it, that Mitchell, in a podcast, that Mitchell Robinson was getting frustrated with his lack of shot opportunities. He outscored Donovan Mitchell as probably the fifth scoring option on the Knicks. So glad to see he was getting his stuff. It was mostly off rebounds or alley-oops, but still great. But got to show love to Jalen Brunson. Can't have Cut the Nets episode without it. 50% from the field. A little bit high. I can't do mental math, but a little bit better. Or no, sorry, a little under 50% from three.
No, that's 55.
That's more than 50. Yeah, it's more
55
than
and a
50.
half.
Yeah, see, that's what I meant to say. 55
5 for
a
9
little
is
bit
over. Yeah.
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 Sorry, I'm in.
Aren't you in college?
I'm having senioritis right now. I got 2 weeks left.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, the Knicks are definitely doing great right now. I am also mad with the series that the game is on NBA TV, so I can't even watch it on Wednesday for Game 5. But it does go back to Cleveland. I think Cleveland takes it. They're too talented of a team. Donovan Mitchell is too much of a star to have another awful game. But I think it does come back to the Garden and the Knicks win in 6. I'm pretty confident in it. But yeah, Brunson definitely looks worthy of that $104 million contract that everyone said was an overpay. He looks like a top 5 point guard in the league. I can say that confidently without being biased. 29-point performance, 6 assists. Yeah, he was just doing it all out there. But Dylan Brooks isn't the only trash talker going on. The Cavaliers kept making Twin Tower and like 9/11 jokes. I was seeing on Twitter.
What?
Yeah.
When you say Cavaliers,
can we pull that up?
fans?
Can we pull it up?
Cavalier fans. Sorry. Not
Okay,
like the actual,
good.
Not the
Zach,
actual team.
pull that up real quick. I want to see
Okay.
this. We can wait. We can wait.
Just give me a minute. Yeah.
I'll give you a minute.
it was
go ahead.
Yeah, it was definitely something you shouldn't mess with, regardless of a rivalry of a playoff series. But
That's cold, man.
yeah, the atmosphere
Oof.
was amazing. I think the Knicks can hopefully keep that going. But obviously, the biggest question mark is Julius Randle. Now, I don't know if it's.
He was benched the fourth quarter, the whole fourth
He
quarter.
was. I don't know if it's that ankle or just because he wasn't playing well, but going 3 for 10 and 0 from the field, 0 for 4 from 3. Also, kind of being picked on defensively. I think it's the ankle, if I'm being honest with you. He was late to a defensive assignments, like trying to contest the 3. He wasn't shooting well. He kind of just looked like a second off. But I do got to give props to Coach Tibbs. Usually that's not something you see him do. He kind of rides with his forever guys. And obviously, as we saw in game 2, when the Knicks were getting blown out, but he still kept the starters, and Jared Allen collapsed on Randle. Almost had like a second coming deja vu. But I'm glad he finally trusted his younger guy, Obi Toppin. I will give him his flowers. He played a lot better. Miles McBride even did really good on Donovan Mitchell, so that probably boosted his confidence. But another guy that needs to step up is Emmanuel Quickly. Robbed the 6th man of the year. He has had a pretty awful series. But, yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see how far this Knicks team can go. I think they win in 6, but...
Okay. Before Matt goes, I'm going to just take a pause real quick, and we're going to have Andy Diederich, one of our other Backsportspage writers, come in to talk about this. He's not on the podcast as a guest, but he will have a video, and I will add to that right now.
The Cavs suck. All right, I'm done being dramatic. We can talk about the playoffs now. So I will say the series is the most exciting for me to watch right now. Warriors-Kings. It seemed like defending champions. They're a dangerous 6 seed, and then they go down 2-0. Kings are shining, when they're on their home court. Warriors come back and take 2 at home. Kings are only one Harrison Barnes miss away from going up 3-1, though. That series is just a whole lot of, I have no idea what the hell's going on. Both teams have looked magnificent at times. De'Aaron Fox looks magnificent in every single game. But, the Warriors are going to play Warrior ball, and the Kings have enough weapons on their own to weather that storm and outmanage that at a lot of times. So I'm really excited to see how this goes when it goes back to Sacramento for Game 5. Biggest surprise, Miami Heat. They're up 2-1 on the Bucks. I mean, any 8 seed goes up on a 1 seed, it's impressive, but especially the Heat, just the way they've been able to turn around their game. Now, I will say Giannis has been out. That's a big thing to mention, of course. But the Miami Heat going from one of the, bottom half of the, in terms of, offensive production as a unit, bottom half in the regular season, they're one of the best teams in the playoffs right now. They might be number 1, I'm pretty sure. I don't even know. It's unbelievable how they've turned this around. I don't know if this is the whole playoff Jimmy Butler coming out to play again like we saw in the bubble, or honestly any other time that he's made a decent run in the playoffs. I'm not sure what's going on, but it's a hell of a series to watch. Giannis coming back for Game 4 might still have some back soreness, but it looks like the Bucks need him really badly. So I'm really excited to see where that goes, and I hope the Heat give him a good series. Biggest disappointment, I think it goes without saying. This was supposed to be a good series. A lot of physical basketball, a lot of superstardom from the likes of Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland. And the Knicks just said, no, we don't want any of that. We're just going to run you out of our home gym like it's absolutely nothing. The Cavs haven't even competed when they've been at MSG. And it's not even just because a few guys are underperforming, just as a unit. The bigs aren't rebounding. Our superstars aren't scoring. We're off. Darius Garland had a terrible Game 3. He started lighting up a Game 4, and then Donovan Mitchell scores 11. He scores 2 points in the entire second half. The bigs are getting out-rebounded. Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen combined for less rebounds than Mitchell Robinson did himself yesterday. It's just unbelievable. I'm not even going to put it all on the Cavs being bad. The Knicks are showing up. Don't get me wrong. But the Knicks aren't even taking full advantage of this. If they were, they'd be winning these games by 30 plus. It's unbelievable how badly the Cavs are getting dominated. I understand it's a 3-1 series. The Cavs have done it before. We don't have LeBron James anymore. Okay? This is done. Something has to change. I don't know if Donovan Mitchell has cursed us with the Utah Jazz curse that he was given there. He doesn't have Rudy Gobert to blame anymore. So I really don't know what to tell him. Okay, now I'm done being cranky. Shalom.
Okay, Matt, what do you got to say?
I'm honestly very surprised about this series. I thought it was going to be a back and forth series. Just kind of surprised how the Knicks have just been taking care of business against the Cavs. I think their defense has been really, really good. Obviously, Game 2, things got a little out of hand, but besides that game, they've looked really good. Donovan Mitchell, disappointed how he played in Game 4. Didn't look good at all. And, 2 points in the second half is just telling me that you're not going to win that game if he's only putting up 2 in the second half. Darius Garland stepped up big in the second half as well. But overall, I think that small forward position is just kind of what's doing them in at this point. You're putting in Isaac Okoro, who cannot buy a 3. Karis LeVert, who's kind of a streaky kind of person. I mean, they've even gone to Danny Green at points in time. So, and then Cedi Osman as well. He can make a 3. So overall, just the Cavs don't have a lot of offense, and the 2 main guys the Knicks are kind of channeling in on. So I think if you're the Cavs, just a really, really tough offensive series. But very surprised that the Knicks were going to be having their number this early on. And I think I would agree with Brian that they probably win in 6. I don't see a way where they get gentlemen swept, but who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. But overall, I'm very surprised how the Knicks handled this series, and interested to see how they match up in a Bucks series if that were to happen.
Ooh, yeah. I would say so that. For my take, I think that the Cavs really need to regroup their bench this offseason. I'm not calling it quits. Okay, I mean, yeah, they might lose in 6 or lose in 5 or hell, maybe even win in 7 if they come back 3-1. But they don't have LeBron, so it's not really going to happen. You know, they have a really good starting lineup, really talented. They have a little bit of a question mark at the small forward position, which will definitely be answered. It can be answered in the offseason. I'm not doubting that. They just need more experience with Mobley, Allen, and Garland. Mitchell has enough experience as anybody on this team with his 5 straight trips to the playoffs, I believe. 5 straight trips now. And yeah, they really just need to update their bench. They got to update their bench with defensive-minded guards and forwards because they're not able to withstand the New York Knicks, who didn't really have necessarily a great offense. Their offense is solid, but not like top 5, if I'm not mistaken. So, Brian, would you fact check me on that? I think you're gonna go ahead and do that. But yeah, I really feel like the Cavs need to just regroup this offseason. If they were to lose this series against the Knicks, which they likely will, and just kind of run it back with their starting lineup. With the Knicks, losing Julius Randle when it comes to being benched in the fourth quarter, there's sort of a question mark there when it comes to closing out their next, possible series clinching game, either game 5, 6, or 7. I think the Cavs will likely capitalize on that if Coach Tibbs makes a bad decision. If Tibbs decides to start Randle again and Randle pulls this another inconsistent night, is a liability on the floor, and then Tibbs has to make that should I bench him decision again. I mean, I think he will, since he benched him the entire fourth quarter and the Knicks won. But that could be a loophole for the Knicks have that the Cavaliers can capitalize on. So that's something that the Cavs may be happy and look forward to. Yeah, I think the Knicks do take this in 6.
Knicks definitely have the upper hand. I mean, the momentum's certainly on their side. They did what they needed to do in Cleveland. They stole game 1. They got both games in the Garden. Now they're one win away from advancing to the second round for the first time in 10 years?
So Clippers and Suns. The Suns take a 3-1 series lead. You got to look at the Clippers right now, and this has been going on since the acquisition of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. It's been quite the disaster when it comes to that, to say the least. I mean, they've been injured every single year, whether it be in the regular season or the playoffs, and you've had to have either their strong bench that they've always had, thanks to Ty Lue, and now we have Russell Westbrook. They don't have their 2 other key superstars in Kawhi and PG. Zach, you got like a weird face.
Yeah, I'm still stunned at that. We haven't seen Russell Westbrook do that in how long?
Yeah, since 2017.
The Wizards, maybe? Even longer.
The Wizards?
He played okay with the Wizards.
Yeah, he had some good, good stretches of games, and then he also played pretty well in a couple of games against in the first round in the playoffs. But disgusting. When it comes to how they're orchestrated without Kawhi and PG, it kind of feels like it's the 2017 Thunder, with Westbrook needing to be on the floor, contributing, putting up 30-plus points, being really efficient, and just not being enough for the Suns' powerhouse of a team and Booker and KD, along with CP3 and DeAndre Ayton. It's just the starters win, essentially. Like, you can't really do much with that. You probably could have made it a series with Kawhi, if he wasn't injured with a sprained knee. But again, this is just another case of injuries for the Clippers. I mean, it's been going on since they got acquired, since PG and Kawhi got acquired back in 2019 offseason. So it's really upsetting. It's just it really is. I mean, you got Westbrook all by his lonesome, along with a couple of has-beens and Marcus Morris, and Norman Powell's probably the most well. Let me say this. That 42-point game by Norman Powell is probably the worst basketball player to score 42 points in a game. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like he's probably one of the worst basketball players to ever score 42 points in a game.
I mean, Terrence Ross had 50. Never forget.
Corey Brewer too, but in a playoff game.
Oh my God,
Corey
playoff game,
Brewer.
yeah.
Yeah, but those are regular season games. Those
That's true.
can happen. But for Norman Powell to score 42 points in a playoff game, this was, I believe, game 3 or game 3.
Yeah, game 3.
And they will, of course, still lost. He can't. Obviously, he's never going to do that ever again. Like, he scored 14 points on 4-15 shooting, but he's probably their second best player on their starting squad, and that's not really saying much. Without Kawhi and PG. Thoughts?
I think for the Clippers, you're going to have some big questions this offseason. I think the only healthy playoff series they had with PG and Kawhi was in the bubble, and we all know what happened there. The infamous 3-1 collapse.
Yep.
But then they've either had one of the two or just none of them. So I think you're definitely going to have some big questions. My prediction is it might be the end of the PG Kawhi era. I mean, you're going on – this is year 4. Could you handle going year 5? Do you think things would change? I don't know. Maybe the ownership and front office still believes in PG and Kawhi being that dynamic duo that they have, and maybe they can stay healthy for one more postseason run. But I have a hard time believing that. But wouldn't be surprised if Ty Lue gets let go. I mean, even though Ty Lue's a great coach, it's just usually one of those situations where something doesn't work out, you kind of just look towards the coach.
He's a scapegoat.
Yeah,
I think they're gonna pull a scapegoat if they do decide to make a change. If they want to keep the whole Kawhi PG thing going on.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if they kept it around. Honestly, I think it's kind of run its course. You don't have much to show for it. You had a Western Conference Finals run, but that was without Kawhi, I believe. So I think you're just at a point where it's just kind of hard to keep those two guys healthy. You load manage Kawhi for the whole year, and he still gets injured in this series. So I think it's kind of run its course. Being unbiased, even though I'm a Lakers fan and I hate the Clippers, they were my finals pick this year. I thought they just had the deepest roster in the league, and making the moves at the deadline that they did, I liked them. Getting Mason Plumlee was a solid pickup, I thought. Eric Gordon as well. But yeah, man, it just sucks that they always just flame out at this time of year. And props to Westbrook. I mean, he was very rocky tenure across the hall, but just as an NBA fan, it's great to see him put on performances like this. And 37 on good efficiency is something you don't really see a lot these days. But in game 3 and 4, he's kind of just willed the Clippers into close games against the Suns, just unable to pull it out. But yeah, I think the Clippers definitely have some big questions to answer, and I think that answer is going to be, unfortunately, Ty Lue, even though I don't think it's the right move.
Matt,
Go ahead.
Matt, you mentioned how the Clippers always seem to flame out around this time of year. It's funny you mention that. The Clippers are and always have been fraudulent. There's not one thing they've done that's been legitimate. You add Kawhi and PG, great. The night they added Kawhi and PG, it meant nothing to me because the Clippers don't know how to build a team. Even with Kawhi and PG, they had all the talent in the world. They gave everything up. They gave up their future for a team that couldn't stay healthy and gave up a 3-1 lead the one time they were healthy. There's no reason to have believed in this team going forward. This team going into this season was just, they were going to go in and you knew they were either going to show up in the first round, maybe someone gets hurt, and lose in the second at best. That was their best case scenario, and that's been their best case scenario for the past 10, 20, 15, 10, 20, 30 years. The team has been bad. They don't know what they're doing. No matter what you do, no matter who the coach is, no matter if Chris Paul's there, no matter if Kawhi Leonard's there, they're not going to win. They're cursed. Obviously, I'm biased, but I've seen it time and time again. Lob City was a joke, and now the Kawhi PG era was a joke. Great job, Clippers fans. Great job. Let's go, Clippers.
There are no Clipper fans, but
I mean, I'm neither. I mean, I'm honestly neither. I just appreciate good basketball, and I know that there's a loophole when I see it. So with
There's
the Clippers,
good players on this team. I just don't know what it is.
They're just they have a good bench. I mean, Ty Lue is like the bench king. He's always had a good bench with the Clippers whenever he was on. But with the superstars and the players that get the most playing time, they haven't been on the court.
If you can't stay healthy, what good is it worth? What have you done for me lately?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. But I think that maybe Steve Ballmer and the front office will still believe in the Kawhi and PG, and then they'll make Tyler Lewis a scapegoat and fire him. Because you look at Kawhi and PG, and then like to the NBA media and fans, they're recognized as one of the top 50 players in the league. So, it's just, again, like I said before, it's
Kawhi, when he's
tragic.
healthy, is one of the greatest.
He is.
He's a legitimate threat in the mid 2000s, late 2010s. I'm sorry, mid 2010s, late 2010s. Excuse me. He's a legitimate threat to what KD and LeBron could do. He could stop both of them on any given night.
Let's take a look at the Suns side, since we spent most of the time about the Clippers. I don't like this lineup when it comes to minutes. I just don't. But it's working against this Clippers team. And I really hope that they change it in the second round, because it's not going to be the same. I don't like it when KD plays 45 minutes in this sort of like crunch. Well, it's not really crunch time. It's like they're up 2-1. They're up now 3-1. Are they going to play KD 45 minutes again? Probably. With Devin Booker, 41 points. Yeah, you could probably lower that a little bit. They still have the same formula. I mean, they've had the same type of minutes distribution since they started. They just played maybe more of their bench players, but again, KD and Book lead the team with plus 40 minutes. I mean, yeah, they scored 61 points combined. Chris Paul had a decent game finally, plus 22. It's good from 3. Is this more of a threat to the second round series? Who are they playing in the second round?
Denver, I believe.
Denver? Do you think... We'll talk about Denver later, but I'm pretty sure they'll advance to the second round as well. But against the Phoenix Suns in Denver, like, do you think this lineup, with the minutes that they're using, is sufficient enough against a really stacked Denver team in the lineup, not only, but the bench as well? Like, I don't think so.
I mean, it depends. Like, if they stay healthy, sure, but obviously that's a big if. Like Zach mentioned, and Jeremy, you too. If Durant keeps playing these big minutes, he's bound to get hurt. I mean, he has the body and legs of a skeleton. He's going to get hurt if he keeps playing this much. Obviously, like early on in the series when Kawhi was healthy, you kind of have to, because you have no bench and you wanted to win. I'm like content with them kind of even winning or trying to overuse their starters in Game 4, because getting it 3-1 is a lot different from 2-2. So I'm like kind of fine with them killing their starters, but in a Game 5, which is kind of like a throwaway game, you're at home anyway. Assuming Kawhi's a no-go, and obviously they're still without Paul George, they should still be able to win with Chris Paul, Booker, and Ayton against a Russell Westbrook and a Norman Powell.
You forgot Durant there too, but yeah.
Well, I was saying, like, Durant, obviously, like, not playing as much. But
yeah. I mean, we're already pretty much concluding that the Suns will win this, either in 5 or 6 games.
It's just a matter of whether or not they come away with it injured or uninjured. Because Kevin Durant, we've seen it happen before. This usage rate will result in him getting hurt in some capacity. It's happened time and time again.
He's 35 now? 34, 35 years old? So
he's
really,
got to...
Yeah.
Is he the same age as Curry? He might be.
I think he is.
34, yeah.
34, yeah, he's 34. So that's on the tail end of your peak of your prime, if you're a superstar.
If you're human.
Yeah.
Yeah, LeBron KD, James notwithstanding, yeah.
I'm not counting LeBron James.
Yeah, like I said, if you're human. That's exactly my point.
Reverse windmill dunk at 38. I'm not counting LeBron James.
Like I said, if you're human. I don't know about that one.
Cyborg, steroids, all those things.
$6 million man.
$1 billion. Sorry.
Billion.
He's a billionaire now.
God bless.
But I think this is kind of a concluded series as well for me. I don't really see the Clippers coming back down 3-1. The Suns may kind of play with their food like the Nuggets will, which we'll talk about in a sec. But I think I see the Suns in no less than 6 games.
How do you guys feel about this Suns team against, assuming that Denver makes it out? How do you think the Suns match up?
It's not gonna be Suns in 4. It's not gonna be Suns in 4. It's not. It's gonna be probably Denver in 5.
Really?
I really see it. I just, again, as Zach and I mentioned, you can't play KD these amount of minutes in like consecutive games, in 4 consecutive games. You just can't. Like at his age, with his injury history, yeah, in a game 6, down 3-2 or up 3-2 or whatever, and against the likes of Jokic and Murray and Porter Jr., yeah, play KD 48 minutes. Don't do it the next game. I wouldn't do it the next game. Booker's a lot younger. He's more athletic. Yeah, he has some injury history, but it's not as significant as Durant's. But other than that, like, you got those 2 players. Paul is old. He's 38. DeAndre Ayton, serviceable. First overall pick, as I said in the past. Torrey Craig, bench player. Glorified bench player. Actually, I'm wrong. Glorified starting role in the bench, who should be on the bench. Yeah.
He was a +8 though. Look at
He's
that.
good. I'm not saying he's bad. He's a good player. I'm just saying he shouldn't be on a championship-led team that people are saying in the Phoenix Suns. He should be on the bench.
There are other small forwards that you would want in the lineup. Yes, I can agree with that.
Yes. Yeah. But yeah. Let's move on to the Nuggets and Wolves. This should have been a sweep, but it wasn't.
Yes.
From my standpoint, besides Nikola Jokic, everybody on the Nuggets did not play well until 2 minutes left in the 4th quarter. Which brings me to my prediction that the Nuggets will be exactly the way they are years ago. Jokic will play a stat-padded game in the most crucial games that they need to win. Because they don't really need to win this game. But if they act like this in other games, oof. Especially like in the higher-seeded teams in the Western Conference Finals or even the second round, they're going to lose a game they really need to win. They don't have contributions from the rest of their starting lineup. I mean, you have Jokic, who's taken the most shots, who's 43 points. Murray, who's supposed to be your sort of co-star. Yeah, ACL history, but he had a Murray-type game a couple of games ago. But only 19 points? No, in 41 minutes, you got to score more points, Murray. No. The Nuggets were playing with their food, I think, in this game. They really were. There's no business they should be winning against this series against the Wolves in 5 games. Should have been a sweep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, the Nuggets are clearly the better team here. You can excuse them dropping 1, especially if it's on the road when the Wolves have everything on the line. As you said, clearly not every Nugget was giving it their all. So they'll probably come back home, game 5, want to put this to bed. There's no way they should be allowed to be given any sort of slack if this game goes back to Minnesota. There's no way.
Nope. Absolutely not. Nope.
But Anthony Edwards put up a night.
Yeah.
I'll say he was great. He's a superstar in the making. They should focus on him.
He may be there. Yeah, he may be there right now.
I love the post game too. Like, he was talking to the reporter, and he wasn't even praising himself. He was praising all of his other players for helping.
He's the guy who has the capability of taking the Wolves to the heights that everyone thought that Karl Anthony Towns could take them to.
I agree. I totally agree. He's got that mindset. He's got that confidence. He's not cocky. I don't really find him cocky. I just feel like he's got like sort of that happy medium.
He's a very happy-go-lucky. He's almost everything. What he does, he's so good at what he does. It's almost nonchalant in a way. Like, he just nonchalantly will go and dunk above. He's someone who could probably dunk on top of Yao Ming. Yao is a fantastic.
He can definitely.
Yao is a fantastic shot blocker, and there's a good chance that Yao can do whatever he wants to Anthony Edwards. But that's a matchup that I want to see, and we're all worse for not being able to see.
I wish we could like figure out like this sort of simulation where we could just pick all the best players in their prime against all the other best players in their prime who didn't play against each other?
For sure.
That'd be pretty cool. Like, I mean, obviously LeBron and Jordan. That would be awesome.
And yeah, Mike Conley has always been underrated. 19 points.
Look how we just like go
13.
back to the game that really didn't matter.
No, none of that matters.
Mike Conley.
Hey, Mike Conley matters, man.
Playoff Conley, baby.
Playoff
Veteran.
Conley's great. Playoff Conley. No, I was sort of like watching the game a little bit, just a little bit, and then I saw the halftime report with Inside the NBA, and Chuck was right. This game is boring as hell. Like, except the overtime part, except the OT. That was the only good part of the game. Again, yeah. What should the Wolves, if we want to get back to this, what should the Wolves do? I mean, to make this a series, going back to Denver, when we all probably well know that they likely won't. Like, what did they know and realize, okay, we can make this a series?
If Jokic doesn't show up, like if he gets hurt on the way there or something, it's the only real answer.
Yeah, Jokic gets lost on the way to the airport, and that's he misses his flight. And
he pulls a Home Alone 2. Is that what he does?
Home Alone 2, snowstorms. They can't get back. That's the only hope. He's got to. They got to bus him in, and he just barely might make it for the fourth quarter. Then yeah, the Wolves have a shot.
Okay.
That or they bench Rudy Gobert, who's just not very good against Nikola Jokic.
He's just not good in general. He's just overrated as fuck. Like Gobert is just.
No, but I mean, just in their matchups in the career, like that's been.
Yeah, let's look at that. Cat only took 9 shots.
He's just been weird this whole series.
Really weird.
Took 10 free throws though.
He's just not aggressive and just like kind of just perimeter game for him. Just complete opposite of what he was like in the playing game.
I think it should be a co-star. Like he should actually be a co-star.
I think it's already Ant's team. Like I'm not.
Yeah, 100%.
It's definitely Ant's team because of the fact that Towns couldn't get into the playoffs until 2018 when they had Jimmy Butler and didn't even perform well in that series against the Rockets. And then after Butler left, they pretty much did nothing until Edwards came on the team, was drafted. So it is definitely Anthony Edwards' team, especially with that performance. Oh man, 34 points.
And they tried to build this thing around Karl-Anthony Towns. They brought in his best friend, D'Angelo Russell. They tried really hard to make it work. They brought Rudy Gobert in to free up Karl-Anthony Towns so he could play power forward, so he could be more aggressive, so he could spread the floor more. And he rewards them with 9 shots. And I'm sorry, he won the 3-point shootout last season, right?
Yes.
Why is he only attempting 2 threes a game? You got Gobert to spread out. Like this whole experiment seems to have failed. There's just no way around it.
He was injured for most of the season this year, so you can probably argue that, and which kind of made the Wolves kind of like hover over 500 for the majority of the season.
That's right.
And then Towns did take a while to sort of get back into his like athletic shape and his rhythm with the team, but he did have really good games. I mean, in the play-in, as you mentioned, but. Again, I just feel like they don't really know how to utilize him, especially with Ant just kind of going off and taking the majority of shots. Looking at Conley, he's pretty much used exactly the way he's supposed to be used, but they've just kind of lost out of Towns for most games. So we all probably agree the Nuggets will win in 5, and the Wolves really need to figure out what they got to do with Towns this offseason. Let's make sure the Nuggets actually eat their food instead of play with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, that being said, that is the entire playoff segment for Cut the Nets episode 19. If you enjoyed listening to us, please don't forget to drop a like and subscribe. Also feedback on everything as well. Follow all of Backsportspage podcasts, including Backsportspage Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the social media. We're going to get into the grid game, episode 3, with Brian Ramos and myself. And Matt, we will have you to be our contestant.
Boy.
Awesome. So yeah, that being said, thanks so much for watching. Let's get on with the grid game. Thanks so much, Zach, for also producing and also making an appearance.
Of course, always happy to do so.
We appreciate you, and
Yep.
yeah,
I will catch you guys next time.
awesome. Let's move on.